Hello and welcome to Beyond the Lights, Football Across Texas, where we're talking football in towns with head coaches across the state. I'm your host, Brandon Brown, retired football coach and AD, and I'm glad you could join us today at this week's stop in the Lone Star State as we meet one more coach and one more town that make up the world of Texas high school football.
Favorite run play, I like ISO.
Power. You got to run the power.
Run the picket fence.
So I was hung up at the crow's nest.
My grandfather was the first African-American running back to be All-State.
I was 19 right about the time and went to a church revival and got saved. And that path changed my life. It's about going in there and changing lives.
Mudita, which is finding joy or happiness in others' success.
Now, I got a funny story on this.
Oh, those guys grew up on beans and cornbread. And, I grew up on McDonald's and bologna sandwiches, a little better deal.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to play the flute, Dad.
It ain't all right either. You're editing, but go ahead.
So if I tell you too much more, I have to kill you?
All right, thanks for joining us today for episode 53. We switched formats a little bit today because it's that time of year when I would never want to disturb a coach in season because either they're still playing in the playoffs and need to stay focused, or they just got knocked out and would rather not talk to me, so which I totally understand that feeling. So we're going to spend a few weeks hearing from another major part of the game, and that is the officials. So today we're going to do this over the phone as well, so if it sounds a little different, that's why. I tried to come up with some questions for our guests to help us maybe understand a little more about the game from their perspective. And today I'm here with an old, I would say, coaching buddy of mine, but official buddy of mine, and that is the executive secretary for the Austin Football Officials Association, who I've known for a while because we used his chapter when I was coaching in Schulenburg, and that is Mr. Wayne Elliott. Mr. Elliott, Wayne, how you doing today, man?
Real good, Brandon. The first time I've ever done this, so it's going to be something different for me.
Hey, well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you are busy this time of year, too. I think you said you were spending all day yesterday giving assignments out for the playoff games coming up and that stuff, so you are hitting a crazy time as well, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We got about 35 games this week and a chapter barbecue tomorrow, so I can't do any work on this tomorrow, so I got to get it all done.
Hey, well, at least tomorrow's fun stuff.
Sir.
Should be a little relaxing, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, now, and when it does get to the playoffs, people have to either request your chapter or be assigned by UIL if they want a neutral one. Is that right?
Yeah, we got 90% of our games, I guess, or came from one of the other coaches, and I think we have 4 games or 5 games this week that came straight from the UIL.
Okay, all right, yeah. So most of them came from coaches requesting. That's good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we always start, Wayne, by you kind of telling us a little about yourself and background, what got you into officiating, where you grew up, that kind of thing. So we'll start there.
Well, I went to Gregory Portland High School down by Corpus Christi in the 70s, which was quite a power, South Texas power in the 70s. We were kind of Cat Island before Cat Island. And I had I went off to junior college 1 year at Navarro, and when I came back, I was going to school in Corpus at Del Mar. I went out to watch a GP scrimmage on the practice field behind the I think it was a JV scrimmage on the practice field back behind the varsity, and I ended up officiating it. I don't know if,
you just went to watch?
I went to watch and ended up officiating it. And then when one of my classes I had at Del Mar, an older Hispanic gentleman stood up. When he stood up, he was about 5 foot tall, and said the Corpus Christi chapter of, I think back then it was called Southwest Football Officials Association, was looking for new officials. Now, that kind of sounds fun. So I went and joined. That was 1978. As a student at Del Mar College in Corpus Christi, I joined the Corpus Christi chapter and did nothing that year but sub-varsity stuff, 9th and JV. I remember going to, I think it was a 3-man crew for some junior high or 9th grade game or something at Refugio. And impressing some guy enough that the next meeting, he said he worked with the best rookie he'd ever worked with before in Refugio. So I never forget that.
Dang. That's 47 years. I did the math real quick, but 47 years you've been officiating, huh?
More than I've done anything in my life but breathe.
That's pretty impressive. So you actually even did some of the NFL games back quite a while back, didn't you?
I did. Well, I think that was 2012.
Okay.
As a replacement ref, we were called. I thought I would go in there and, if I was lucky, get a game. So we started going to meetings in June. My college supervisor called me and said, if I do that NFL thing, he's going to have to let me go from the Lone Star Conference. And I said, if I just go to this was in June. I said, if I just go to this meeting, they're going to give me $5,000 to show up.
Oh, golly.
That's 3 or 4 years worth of work in Lone Star football. And I said, and this is, it wasn't a strike. They had locked the referees out because they were afraid the referees would strike once the season started, or the officials. So I said, this is going to be over with before our college season starts anyway. So I was just going to be going to meetings and maybe I might get a game, and then it's going to be all settled. Well, I ended up getting 7 games, counting the preseason, 4 preseason games and 3 regular season games. And paid for 4 regular season games, which was really awesome.
Oh, that's cool. So, okay, so did you say college games though before that?
Small college. I've
Okay.
been at the small college level since 1991.
Okay.
D2, D3.
And you still do some of those, don't you?
I do them. I've got one this Saturday. I've had yeah, 8 or 9 of them this year, I guess, so far.
I'm pretty sure I saw you at Angelo State game a few years ago. Did you do some of
Angelo
those?
State. Yeah, I'd probably have a game there about every other year or something like that.
Yeah, because my son was playing for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was your son playing with what was the quarterback's name? His daddy was a coach.
Zach Bronkhorst. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
Bronkhorst kid.
Yeah, he played tight end for him then, and so he was at Schulenburg, of course, when y'all were. And I didn't have you for a lot of games at Schulenburg, but he was at Schulenburg playing when we had y'all's chapter, and then I was at the game. I was at one of those Angelo State games, and I looked out there on the field. I said, God, that looks like Wayne. And so I looked it up. I looked up the officiating crew for that day, and sure enough, I was like, oh, dang, I think that is him out there.
Yeah. Get around. There's always usually somebody. I did Mary Hardin Bader last week, and there was a couple of people there that said, was that you? Was that you at Mary Hardin Bader? Yep, that's me. So get around. My supervisor has 6 different conferences, so I don't see very many schools like every single year.
Yeah.
Because there's so many schools he has. So he spreads us around in 6 different conferences at 4 different levels.
Okay. Well, tell me this, when it comes to the different levels, what's the biggest difference in levels besides, I guess you may say, speed of the game, because that's kind of the obvious thing from my viewpoint?
Yeah, there's not really a big difference in the, like if you work Lake Travis, Westlake, Vandergrift, Dripping, some of those guys.
Yeah.
It's not really, doesn't seem to be of that big of a difference in that in the small college. But if you work in, I'll say Schulenburg, what the heck? If you go work in Schulenburg, San Saba, we did San Saba on Halloween because the guys wanted to go to the graveyard on Halloween.
Yeah.
You work those guys, and then compare that to Dripping Springs or Westlake. There's a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
It's a bigger difference in the small high schools and the big high schools than there is in the big high schools and the small colleges.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Just the overall speed of the game and having to try to keep up with everything, is that kind of it?
Right.
What now? Are there really aren't any rule differences between high school and college right now, are there? Because don't we follow NCAA rules?
Just the UIL exceptions, and those are mostly timing things.
Yeah.
It's NCAA rules.
Yeah.
Just a couple of exceptions, and I think just about every exception I can think of is all having to do with the clock. We don't wind in high school. We don't wind the clock when the ball comes in after an out of bounds play. We stop the clock for first downs. We don't do that in college.
Okay.
So it's mostly just timing stuff.
Now, what was the biggest difference when you had to jump up to the NFL for a little bit?
A rule book that I couldn't understand because it was written for a lawyer. things that we didn't really have time to learn. I would learn them by messing them up. Like I didn't know in the last 5 minutes, it's like we do in the last 2 minutes. It's the last 5 minutes for them. So like I had a Houston Texans and San Francisco preseason game in Houston when who was the coach? The Harbaugh. Harbaugh was the coach of San Francisco.
Okay.
And we had a penalty in the last few minutes, which normally you would mark off the penalty and wind the clock because the clock was winding when the penalties are what stop the clock. So you mark off the penalty and you start the clock. Well, not at that time because it was under 5 minutes. Like under 5 minutes. My game's under 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So learning stuff like that. Back then, you could only in the NFL you couldn't hit the quarterback low. We didn't have that in high school and college.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hit the quarterback low. That was a tough one. Just they would have some terminology I'd never heard of before. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough, but I would learn it. Hopefully you don't screw up anything big time. You screw up something that only you know you screwed up. That's how you learn it. You screw it up, and then I won't do that again.
Well, and you know what I've really noticed these last couple of years in the NFL is they slow things down so much when they make a call. I mean, you would never see them come back, 30 seconds after the play was over and throw a flag. Now you see that every once in a while because the referees will go, they don't throw anything. They'll go talk about it. They'll make sure they're getting it right. Then they'll throw the flag,
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of smart to be a little more, that they're able on that, get that level, especially to be, when there's so much money on it, to be patient about it and let's talk about it first. Y'all didn't have that luxury a while back.
No, and I don't even really, if it wasn't for my lifetime love of the Dallas Cowboys and for playing fantasy football, I don't think I would have watched the NFL. It's just so under the microscope.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. And anytime there's it's 3rd and 20, the defense has done their job, and you got a 5-yard illegal contact penalty, 5 yards and automatic first down to bail them out. It happens every time. It's annoying to me.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of things like that you're looking at it going, God, seriously? After all that work, you get that?
Yep.
Well, okay, so if someone wants to be an official, what is the process that they would go through? Because I know y'all have a shortage right now. So first, let's talk about the process that they would go through, and then I've got a couple follow-ups from that.
We've got a site on our website where you can register, and someone will call you to talk to you about it. You can go straight to the state's website, which is taso.org, taso.org, and register as a new official on there. And I get notice that you've done that. So, because when you sign up with the state organization, you pick a chapter.
Okay.
So if somebody signs up with the state and picks Austin, I get notice of that, and then we put them on our roll and start getting them involved in the training and get them going from there.
How much training is there? What does it take?
Every Monday night, I think they started this year early July, and they went pretty much through October. Every Monday night, they have class, they watch film, they work junior high games that are supervised where there'll be, 1 or 2 veteran officials working with 1 or 2 rookies that'll trade out every quarter or every half maybe, with the rest of the class watching them. The scrimmages are a really, really good place for rookies to learn because scrimmages, it's 110 degrees. These coaches will scrimmage all day long. And so we try to have, 10, 15 guys out there. So somebody's not out there for the whole 4 hours. And rookies, that's a great place for rookies to learn because they can stand behind you and work. You can stand behind them and watch them work and coach them while they're working. Scrimmages are great for training.
So that's pretty long training starting,
It's pretty long.
Yeah. Well, okay, and then they would come up and they would start out by doing low-level games, correct?
Junior high, nothing varsity, except for now that we're getting shorter on officials than we used to be. Used to be you weren't going to work any varsity, maybe for 2 years. You're just going to work. These guys would be thrilled to get a JV game that was 6A, because that was about as good as they're going to get. Now, as a rookie, it doesn't take but 2 or 3 weeks to figure out who the really, really strong rookies are. Those guys might get a 2A or 3A game because of our numbers in their first year. A lot of them are going to get six-man football, which wasn't even a thing when I was coming up. There was no six-man football around Austin. I mean, for me in the late 70s and early 80s, you cut your teeth. In our chapter, we call Schulenburg and Weimar and Flatonia, we call that the sausage circuit, because you used to always get a sausage from the concession stand at halftime or after the game. So that's the salt. That's where you would go. That's where you cut your teeth in the 70s and 80s. Going to the private schools out there, Sacred Heart and St. Paul, the deaf school, which was an 11-man then, it's 6-man now. There wasn't any 6-man. Now you pretty much, and nobody really comes and becomes a football official so they can work 6-man football.
Right.
That's where you got to cut your teeth now, pretty much.
Okay. So now, once they start getting better, how do they? Because I know if you look at y'all's websites and stuff, you have like you're considered a D1 official or Division I official. So it's like Keith Otto that I know and Prosky, those guys. Division I officials. You have Division II officials, Division III, all the way down to Division V. How does that ranking system for y'all work?
That's just point based. That's just telling you how much experience you have. Any game you work below the varsity level is worth half of a point. Varsity games are worth 2 points. College games are worth 2 points. It used to be worth 4 points, is why I have so many points. So when you start off, you have nothing. And when you get to 60, you move up from Division 5 to Division 4. So when you come in, you're Division 5.
Okay.
So 60 points, which usually takes, if you hustle, you can get 60 points in 1 year. Most people take 2 years, and you become a Division 4 up to 180 points. So then you become Division 3 at 180. That doesn't take that long. So it's only 600 points makes you Division 1. You can get to 600 points usually in 10 years or so.
Okay.
So that's all that's telling you is there's people that are Division 1 have been in for 30 years, and people that are Division 5 or Division 4 that are better than those other guys because it's just they get it.
Yeah.
So the division is just a experience level.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, so you can have a guy, you can move a guy up as high up as you want to, as far as in big games, that kind of thing.
Level of games, sure.
Just based on how good they are, then.
Yes, we're always looking because we're so old. I think our average age is 50 or more. Our average age, and there's 463 of us. So we're old, and I go into the rookie class. I talk to the rookie classes every year, and I go in there and I look around like, why are these guys just now rookies in their 40s? Where's all the young people?
Yeah,
So I love when I walk in there and I see a 20-year-old.
Yeah. Well, I saw Arthur Atkins' crew still there with Sundown Hunter, and those guys on there. And I had that crew several times, and I really liked Arthur because Arthur would I could grab all I wanted, and he would just look at you and be like, "Okay, we're moving on." He was I could never get any emotion out of him. He was really good at just being, "This is what we called. This is what we saw." He goes, "We're moving on."
And that's a hard thing to teach. It's a hard thing to teach. Is coaches get upset and coaches scream. Don't take it personal, because usually they're going to holler and scream, and then 5 seconds later it's over with and we're moving on.
Yeah.
But then there's guys that it gets under their skin. They want to yell back. Like, don't need to yell back at the coach. They're going to yell at you. There's nothing you can do about it. They're going to yell at you. Just let it bounce off.
Yeah. Well, I saw Arthur's name on there. He's been doing it a long time too.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor, and that is Coach Randy Jackson.
If you're training your athletes for strength, speed, and technique, you're just keeping up with everyone else. The real edge today is in mental performance. My name is Randy Jackson, and with 33 years of experience, I understand the messaging athletes need, both in season and off season. This is why I created the Blueprint, a plug-and-play system where I serve as your team's virtual mental performance coach. Unlike traditional character programs, The Blueprint delivers mental training that empowers your athletes to think sharper and perform better. Every Division I and pro team trains the mental game. Let me be that coach for your team and give your athletes the competitive edge they need. Join the Blueprint family and help us develop the next generation of mentally tough athletes. Learn more about the Blueprint on CoachRandyJackson.com or call or text me at 214-471-0070.
So now, once you get as an official, you're registered with your association, all that. What kind of continuing ed do y'all have to do?
There's the minimum qualification is you have to go to a regional clinic or the state meeting every year.
Okay.
And just about every chapter has their own regional meeting. So if you can't make your own chapter's regional meeting, there's going to be one in San Antonio or Temple or Waco. There's going to be one close by you can go to. State meeting bounces around, mostly Houston, Dallas, back and forth between there. But I think last year was in Abilene.
Okay.
So that's and you have to take a test every year. To work varsity football, you have to just make a minimum of 70. To work playoff football, you have to make a minimum of 90.
Okay. No, that's good. So
we had to cut a lot of people out this week because that test is open. You can take it a million times. That test opens up in early August and it stays till like November. So a lot of people will go and they'll get their minimum score in. You know, I made an 80 in August. I'm good for the season. I got to get a 90 before the playoffs. Well, they won't do it again. They'll forget about it. So I'll send out 10 different reminders during the year. You got to get your test score up to 90. Playoffs are going to come up soon. So this week we have, a handful of people that now their season's over because they have an 88 on their test.
Oh, but that's good though that you're having to score way up there. If you want to come in the playoffs when it's really crunch time, you've got to score way up there. So that's good. You've got something in there like that.
Yes, sir.
Well, okay. So if you got people out there that are thinking of the possibility of becoming an official, the pay is pretty good to, as a side deal that they can have their regular job and do this on the side. The pay's pretty good, isn't it, for that?
It's okay. So all the schools don't pay the way they're supposed to pay. It's a percentage of the gate, and there's a chart where you make X amount of money, then you have to pay this much to officials. And I think the minimum changes all the time. I think the minimum right now is $95. So like these 6-man schools probably don't even charge gate. I don't know. So if the gate is less than whatever that, I don't know what the bottom number is, 5,000. If the gate is less than 5,000, maybe.
Yeah.
Whatever the number is, you get $95 plus mileage. So the local mileage is $20. So you can get $115 minimum.
And that's a varsity game?
For a small gate. For the sub-varsity games, it comes out to about $80 a game. And it's normally at least 2 games when you go do sub-varsity. There's 7th and 8th or 7th B and 8th B. Some of those little schools, like, I don't know if they do it in Schoenberg, but some of those smaller schools, you go do 4 games. They got 7th A and B and 8th A and B. So you're doing 4 games and you're coming out there with $300.
Okay, so that can be pretty good for you're talking about giving up your Thursday and Friday night, or I guess your bigger schools, you got some sub-varsity games on Tuesday nights, don't you?
Yes, Tuesday. There's actually sub-varsity every day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay, so somebody could come out of there making some pretty good monthly side income.
Yeah, you can work. If you're that into it, I guess you can work. You can work every day but Sunday, because on Saturday mornings there's a lot of different Pop Warner leagues, which is not part of our organization, but people in our organization assign it, and people in our organization work it.
Okay.
And they usually pay cash. They pay cash at the site.
Oh, there you go.
And I think that's usually, I don't think you go do Pop Warner without doing about 4 games. You're out there half the day. So you can work football every day of the week if you want to, except Sunday. And Sunday you can watch the Cowboys.
Hey, that's pretty good then. Okay. Okay, so let's say someone gets involved and they want to move up through the ranks, kind of like you did. They want to go do college, and then maybe they want to go do pro. So going through college, they could still just be a part of y'all, a chapter like y'all, and do high school and college, correct?
Yeah, we've probably got maybe 25, may not be that high, but 20, 25 guys in our chapter that work at the small college level like I do, where we don't have to be at the game a day before. Once you get into D1, you have to be there on Friday for a Saturday game, and you can't really work high school football. We do have a few D1 guys that put together crews that only work Thursday varsity football. We have three crews that are Thursday only, because the referee or one guy in that chapter are D1, and they have to be somewhere on Friday.
Well, is
so
that,
you can't.
if you said you wanted to, if someone says I want to be a D1 official, is there a different route they take to do that, or is that just they still do the same thing?
Well, you usually get into my level and get pulled up. Now there's one guy that we had a few years ago. He's in the NFL now. That he must have had some connections just when he started, before he even started, because he was in our chapter 1 year. 1 year in our chapter, and he was in the Sun Belt Conference the next year. And he moved on from the Sun Belt to the SEC, and I think he's in his second year now, or maybe third year in the NFL.
So
he spent 1 year in our chapter.
So where did they pick their officials from? I mean, how do they get to? Do they have chapters for the college ones, or it's y'all's chapters? They're just pulling officials. How did that work?
They have clinics in the summer. Some, like, there used to be a big one in Reno. I went to the one in Reno a couple of times. I'm not sure where the really big ones are now, because I'm too old to look to go move up, so I don't go to them. But they have. I think, is it Conway, Arkansas? I think has a big one every year. Houston now may be having a big one. There's one out in Jacksonville, Florida, not here. And you have to go. You can't just go once. You're not going to go to that clinic one time and somebody's going to go, wow, we got to have that guy. You got to go to those clinics every year. You got one or two of them every year. And they start to know you, and you build your reputation in these clinics. When I was coming up, you would just send in an application to these colleges, and somebody would come watch you work. But nobody comes to watch you work anymore. They go to these clinics to watch you work. And maybe once they've gotten to know about you in these clinics, then maybe they'll come watch you work a game. But they don't just come out because you send them a resume, an application, or whatever. They don't just come out to watch you anymore.
So who picks them though? I mean, like, is it
every conference has a supervisor?
Okay. Okay.
Like, it was Walt Anderson in the Big 12 forever. He's moved on now, but so every conference has a supervisor. Some of them have two conferences. I think the guy that has the SEC also has the Sun Belt. So if you get in the Sun Belt, you're hoping to get moved up from the Sun Belt to the SEC. If you get in the Southland Conference or the SWAC, or this new one that used to be called the WAC, it's now the United Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
Charleston is in. Then you're wanting to get moved up from there, probably into the Big 12. So the Big 12 and SEC, that they have feeder conferences like the Sun Belt, the Southland, and these guys are feeder conferences to the bigger guys.
Okay.
And then my level is feeder conferences to the Sun Belt and Southland and the UAC. I lost my umpire this past year into the UAC.
Okay, so they've got to go through that stuff and either know the right people. So it definitely can be knowing the right people then for some of that moving up, not just, hey, I've been super experienced. And
for sure. How does a guy do 1 year and then go into the Sun Belt? He had to have some connections before he even started.
Yeah. No, that sounds obvious, doesn't it? Well, and I know there was a lot of stuff with and it may not, with some of the women that went into the NFL officiating. I know there were a lot of people in places saying, wait a minute, they didn't spend whatever time, but like, what does it take to be an NFL referee?
Well, Sarah did. Sarah Thomas, I believe is her name, the first woman in the NFL.
Was that the blonde-haired lady?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice lady. She was, she worked her way up. But I did work when I went to that Reno camp, I did work with her, and she had already been hired into the Conference USA and she at that Reno camp was the first time she would ever work 7-man mechanics, and she had already been hired by Conference USA. So, yeah, she earned her way.
Yeah.
She earned her way. I'm not saying she didn't, but she had the advantage of being a woman because they're looking for women or certain minorities like Asians. They're looking for something different.
Almost some DEI type stuff at times, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wondered about that because you'd hear stuff, and Crud, of course, I know you can't believe everything you hear or read, especially on social media, but you hear stuff every once in a while. So I was kind of curious what the process was and how they have to go, to go through all of that, to get to be on the NFL stuff. So the NFL stuff's still kind of the same way. You go through some of those, you go to the clinics, that kind of thing, and kind of get your name out there.
Yes, and I can say just the 2 months that I was employed, or 3 months I was employed by the NFL, you learn so much because the training is amazing. I just in 2 or 3 months, I thought I improved myself 100%, just because you have the best trainers that are possible to have. And you're getting graded on everything you do. I mean, they're watching you when you do these games. Every move you make is being graded, and it was just amazing training.
Is part of the NFL training a really extensive tricep workout? Because when you see those guys out there and they're putting their arm, you see them point to the side, they got these big old arms,
All I had to do to get hired, because they think they hired about 170, 180 people. And so they had one meeting, I think, in Atlanta, where one tried in Atlanta and one in Dallas. So obviously I went to the one in Dallas. And we didn't do anything on the football field. I guess they already knew something about you. Because all we did was went to Highland Park High School and did a bunch of, it was like a P90X workout. And then we ran at the end of all the workout, all the exercises and stuff we did, we ran like half a mile. And then we were hired. Most of us were hired because there wasn't that many people there. It's probably, I don't know, 75% of the people that went to the tryouts made it because they needed 180 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought that was funny. You had those guys like Ed Hercules and stuff, but when he points to the side, you see this massive tricep on the bottom of his arm.
When I said I lost my umpire to the UAC this year, you should see that boy. He's about 6 foot. He's built. So he may be in UAC for a year or two, and in the SEC or Big 12 for a year or two, and then the NFL, because he's got that look.
That's funny. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit here. What's the hardest part of officiating?
To me, I think it's learning how to deal with the coaches. Because, like I say, they're going to holler, and you just have to learn to not take it personal. And the lower the level, it's worse. Like the junior high coaches are probably the worst.
Oh, wow.
Because, also you're working with very inexperienced officials usually in the junior high level. So it's, I guess, inexperienced coaches and inexperienced officials, and there's just more.
Makes it tougher, huh?
Yeah, it's tougher.
Well, and I mean, and I know it's got to be terrible because I refuse to officiate. I mean, obviously, you know how it is as coaches. Occasionally, we would have to step in and do something here or there. If we couldn't get officials for a lower level game, or whether it's summer league basketball. And Coach Wilder over here at Fredericksburg had asked me when I told him, I said, "Hey, if I can help with anything while I'm here around, you let me know." And one of the first things he asked was, "Hey, can you want to officiate some sub-varsity?" And I said, "Okay, anything but that." I did not. I couldn't handle the yelling and screaming from. I was like, "God, shut the heck up! I'm doing my best. Just shut up and sit there."
This happens pretty much every week. They'll have 2 games that we decided we got a 7th grade C game. We got 3 games this week. Well, they didn't tell us about it. So the 7th grade C game, they're starting an hour earlier than our guys are getting there. So our guys get there. There's coaches out there officiating a 7th grade C game or whatever it is. So it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Where coaches have to officiate because there was bad communication or some games happening that we never knew about.
But I wanted no part of it. That's hard. I mean, that's really, I can't imagine having to be in that situation consistently Or at least I can't. I can't do that anymore. It's like, all right, it's bad enough being yelled at as a coach. I don't want to go out there and just be calling the rules and enforcing rules, and you're going to scream and yell at me nonstop.
Well, there's some things you can expect, and it's just funny because if you have a measurement, one side after the measurement over, one team's going to tell you what a horrible spot that was. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen on every single measurement you ever have. There's going to be they're holding being hollered pretty much every play. They're holding Coach Hal Money used to be McMurray. I swear he wouldn't even let the ball get snapped, and he's yelling they're holding. Coach, let the quarterback get the ball first before you start yelling that.
Well, I'll be honest. I did know a coach once. I'm not going to say who it was. I did know a coach once that said he would always have one of his younger coaches. That was his job, was during every play to start yelling they're holding, whether they were or not. He just wanted them to say that so the referee would be trying to call it every once in a while.
It's funny until they start getting like belligerent about it. I'm like, okay, if you're going to yell at that level that they're holding every play, I'm never going to call it.
Yeah.
It's not ever going to be called, because if I do, you know what they're going to say? It's about time. They've been doing it all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
I don't want to hear that. So I'm just going to not call holding.
Well, and I used to tell my coaches, I said, you don't want to yell nonstop anyway, because if you're yelling nonstop, they just tune you out. They don't hear anything you say. If you only yell when there's something urgent or important,
that's a great point.
Because
if you don't yell a lot, when you do yell, it's going to make me think I missed something.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the same way it is with coaches yelling at their own kids. Don't yell at your players nonstop all the time, or they tune you out and nothing's ever important or serious. If you only yell at them when it's, hey, something major, I got to get your attention over, then the kids pay attention, That's just, I think, a normal coaching thing that coaches have to learn.
That is also the hardest call to make, though, is holding, because holding is the way you block.
Yeah. We teach them to ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100 years old, so we had to have our fists together and our elbows out. You couldn't use your hands at all. Now the first thing you do is fire out and grab some jersey, and that's blocking.
Yeah. Well, and I liked it back when they kind of changed that rule and said that, okay, you can even grab the outside part of the shoulder pads as long as you're not just turning the body with it,
Right.
And that made sense, because you're not just redirecting them that way. You're actually just grabbing cloth and driving still.
And that's what makes it such a hard call. You have to look for the defender's trying to go somewhere and he can't go because he's being jerked back.
Yeah.
And it matters because the ball's over there. If that's happening on the right side and they're running a sweep to the left side, that doesn't even matter.
Right.
He wasn't going to make the play anyway.
Yeah. So, okay, what is one thing that you wish people understood about the difficulties of officiating that normal people aren't going to understand?
There's a lot of philosophies that go into it besides just the rules. Just, at least from my side, I like to let kids play and have very minimal amount of flags. Just that everybody's not seeing the ball every time. Don't holler at me because you think somebody interfered 40 yards downfield. I don't have any idea. I'm watching the quarterback. Just everybody thinks everybody should see what they see, but most people are seeing the ball. They're watching the ball, and we got maybe 2 guys watching the ball out of 7. So everybody's not going to see what you think everybody should see.
Everybody has a separate job on what they're watching on every play, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of people don't understand that, and it's easy for me to understand it now, because when I quit coaching, I watch very specific things on every play and can't tell you half the stuff. I might be watching, when my son was playing at Angelo State, I'm watching him every play. I couldn't tell you what happened over there. When my son at Salado that coaches receivers, I'm watching his receivers half the time to see if they're blocking right. I'm not watching the other part, so you can't see the whole thing at once.
I had a coach holler at me just this last week because our head linesman threw a face mask that was pretty far away from him, but it was what he was supposed to be watching at, even though it wasn't close to him. And so this coach is going nuts because that guy threw the flag. He didn't throw any flags in the first half. He was on our sideline, and he's throwing that from that far away. I said, Coach, I don't have any idea. He was going to pick up the flag. I said, I don't have any idea, but he's pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's hear a quick word from Coach Index. If you're a private instructor of any kind looking to build your clientele, go to coachindex.net and register for free to get your name out there for students and athletes to find you to get help. Whether you're a private golf instructor, math tutor, or piano teacher, Coach Index is a place for you to put your name out there. What we've done is we've made a database for private instructors of all kind to just register for free, and then parents can go and find the instructors that are in their area. But we really need to get the database built up, so help us spread the word to private coaches and instructors so they can get signed up. A couple of names to throw out there if you're looking for help in shot and discus. Cason Brown down in San Marcos area does shot and discus private lessons, and Josh Brown does private lessons up in the Salado Belton area. So you can find them on Coach Index, or you can contact me directly until we get the database built up, and I can get you in touch with them. You can give me a call at 940-229-4438, and I'll help you get in touch with any of them. Now back to the show. Okay, so what are the hardest calls that you think there are to make because it's hard to see or they're frequently kind of questionable? You kind of mentioned holding. Is that it?
Holding to me, and sometimes because my responsibility is a tackle and a quarterback, and sometimes I'm watching a tackle too long because I think he may be about to hold or something, and then something happened to the quarterback. Like, dang, why's the ball on the ground? Did he throw that? Did he fumble that? Sometimes I watch the tackle too long, and it messes me up on the quarterback. And I had a play about 3 weeks ago. The quarterback's, it's a fourth down play, and the quarterback's in shotgun formation. And this wasn't because I was looking at the tackle too long or anything. I just couldn't see the ball. It was a bad snap on the ground, and the quarterback goes down to get the snap. Well, his knee is on the ground for sure. I know for sure his knee's on the ground. I don't know if he has the ball or not. So I don't blow the ball dead. I don't blow the play dead because I don't know if he had the ball. And you have to know before you throw a penalty, you have to know. You can't say, "Oh, I think that guy might have just got held by that reaction." No, you have to see it.
Yeah.
And so I saw a knee on the ground. I don't know if he had the ball or not, and he ran for a touchdown on 4th and 5. And if he doesn't make the first down, the game is over because it was an 11-point deficit, and they scored that touchdown on that play, and they scored another touchdown. They won the game 30-27 on a play where if I roll that guy down, the game is probably over, and they lost.
But see, that's without instant
tough.
replay. Without instant replay, there's no way. I mean, do you ever see instant replay coming to district games?
Yes, we're having it in state championship games now, and in my small college that I work, we have instant replay, and we are the replay guy. There's a Surface computer sitting under a canopy over somewhere, usually in the end zone. And if somebody challenges something, the referee, the back judge, go to that computer and look at it. So we could do that in high school. We only have two. We only have two of these. We have an end zone view and a press box view. So we don't have 27 cameras like the NFL. We have two. So we had that in the small colleges, and they don't have any more money in these small colleges than the high schools do. So I think we will get that in high school eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
When there's no guy in the booth. There's no replay guy in the booth. The referee the referee is the replay guy also.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good then. I mean, because I don't know, that just makes things so much easier because there's no way you can tell on so much of what happens when you got 5 linemen sitting there crowding around, going through blocking, and the ball's on the ground in the middle of there. There's no way you can see that.
Right. And if I could look at that play where the guy's knee was on the ground from an end zone view, if the end zone was, and you only have one end zone view. So if it was the end zone behind him, that might not have shown it. If it was the end zone in front of him, you probably could have seen whether he had the ball when his knee was on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, a buddy of mine had wanted me to ask, and you probably can't answer this. He said, "Are there any coaches that you won't officiate for anymore?" And I told him, I said he probably can't say a name, but
I can't say a name, but there was one. I only worked him one time in my whole life, and then 2 weeks later, I got a call requesting me for a playoff game. They still had a week left to play. So it was a potential playoff game. It might be against this team, might be against that team. So I looked at the standings and looked at who it might be. I thought, well, he may be playing. I turned that playoff game down, and then he ended up. There was an upset in that district, so the matchup I thought it was going to be was not the matchup that happened. But I already turned it down because I was not going to work for that coach again.
See, and I could easily see that happening because, I mean, we as coaches can scratch an officiating crew, which I've only scratched, I think, 2 in my 13 years as an AD. I think, and one was up in North Texas, and the other one I think was, probably with y'all's chapter. And you probably know who I'm talking about. So I figured there were probably some that y'all would sit there and say, no way, I'm not, not doing any games for that guy.
Well, and there's another because I'm in charge of the schedule, so I make the schedule. So there's another one that was upset with us a couple of years ago. I thought, well, I'm just going to take a couple of years off and work in his games. So we're not scratching him. We don't have any animosity towards him. Like, it's probably be better to not see him for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I like the way you phrase it. Yeah, it's just better I don't see you for a few years. Okay. What can we do to get more involvement? You talked about being short with officials again. How do we get more involvement?
Well, we need to keep the ones we get. The problem with your starting officer, all you're going to get is junior high games and Pop Warner games and some little bit of ninth and JV. The problem with that is that's where the worst coaches are too.
Yeah.
And so these guys come out there, especially when we do get the young ones. The young ones can't take being hollered at. You come out and you're 23 years old and some guy's telling you, to go shoot your dog or whatever. Like, I don't have to do, why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
So just getting those first year guys to come, we only get about half of our rookies back for year 2.
So that's coaches problems, and I've always felt that same way. I didn't want my coaches browbeating, officials or whatever, because everybody's doing their best to do their job right. So I think whoever's in charge of those, whatever has to do with those teams, they need to get those coaches in line. You either act right or get your butt out, because you're setting a horrible example for kids too. If you can't control your temper and can't control your mouth, just shut the heck up or quit coaching.
Yeah, and usually I think we think if we can keep a guy for 3 years, we're going to keep him for life. It's getting him to stay for 3 years and stuff.
Okay, so
and that's also when you're going to start having Friday night games. If you've been there 3 years, you're probably going to be to a point now where I've got a varsity game every Friday night, where you don't have that at the beginning. And that's what we're all here for. We're all here to work Friday night lights.
Okay, so it's not as much about getting them out there; it's about keeping them out there, huh?
Keeping them out there. We get a decent sized rookie class every year, but those guys doing, and a lot of times, but by the end of the rookie year, we're down to about 75% of what we started with.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what's the most?
Some of them though just find out it's more of a time involvement than they expected or wanted.
Well, and that makes sense too. They're just learning.
You have to be at a varsity game 2 hours early, and so you have to. If you've got a game in Flat Tony, Schulenburg out there, it's an hour away. And you got to be there at 5 o'clock for 7 o'clock kickoff. You got to take off work early to get to your meeting place to meet the rest of the guys to drive out there. The game lasts 2:45 or 3 hours, and you're midnight before you get home. So you left work at 4 o'clock, and now you're home at midnight. Yeah, the game was 2.5 hours, but I just took 8 hours of my day, and I'm going to get a check for $115.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's tough. Okay.
And that sometimes is an issue because some school districts will pay you more and more paying on arbiter, which is the quickest way. But some of them will send you a check and you'll get it on Monday or Tuesday. Some of them will send you a check in 6 weeks.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, I know, especially big districts. Sometimes that's a headache in big districts because it's got to be turned in. You got to turn in the work order with the paperwork. It gets to one office. They've got to approve it. It goes to another office, and I don't know, that could be a circus. Well, tell me then, okay, what's the most unusual situation you've encountered as an official?
Oh, we've had a pig on the field at Howard Payne once.
A pig?
a pig on the field. I don't know where it came from, but it was, I mean, it wasn't close to us at least, but it was on the field. I've actually had a game at North Alabama where they have a live lion mascot. If he gets out of that cage, we're all in trouble.
I thought they banned live mascots. Was that, or is that,
I was at Texas A&M Kingsville this past Saturday, and they have a javelina, I guess, they have a train that they have kids in. It circles the track for the whole game. This train is circling the track, and there's a pig in a cage at the end in the caboose.
Well, I guess obviously they didn't ban them then, but wasn't there a point I could have sworn they banned live mascots? Because like Baylor had the bear at one point, and then they did something.
Bevo's at every game. So
yeah, you're right. You're right. There was something they did with mascots for a while, though, I think, because it had to do with some of the dangerous ones. But, God, a lion, that'd be pretty scary.
Well, West Texas, is that the one? West Texas A&M was the Buffaloes, and they have a live buffalo. And I think those kids that handle that buffalo on purpose hold on to the rope and let the buffalo drag them on their bellies. I think they do that on purpose because it happens every time I'm ever there. And I had this old guy named Bill Elliott, I think was his name, at Eastern New Mexico back in the day. And then Western New Mexico has West Texas A&M has their own stadium now, but they used to play in Canyon at the high school stadium.
Yeah.
And which is down in the bowl.
I love that bowl.
And he stood at the top of that bowl and he says, "We're not going down that field till they put that buffalo up." Oh, Coach, I don't know if they put that buffalo up. We're not going there until they put it up.
I kind of like that, though. That's pretty funny. I was at that stadium just a while back when I went and interviewed the coach out at West Plains. He told me, he said, you got to go see the stadium on the way out. So I went by there and stopped at the stadium, took some pictures on the way out. That was pretty.
There's some funny stories from coaches' comments. There were years ago when I was a line judge. So I spent the first 25 years of my career as a line judge, being on the home sideline. And I was over there with Bernard. Bernard had a little short coach named Edward Abernathy. And a guy made a great catch on the sideline out of bounds. And he's coming over. He goes, "He caught that ball." "Yes, sir. He caught that ball. He caught it out of bounds." "He caught that ball." "Yes, sir, he did. It was a great catch out of bounds." And he looks at me and he goes, "I know that too. But there's 2,000 people up there wearing green. If they don't see me yelling at you, they're going to yell at me." "Yes, sir."
That's what he had to pretend. That's funny.
Yep.
Okay. In all your officiating stuff, what's your favorite facility that you've officiated in?
I worked at Lambeau Field.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I worked at the Cotton Bowl, which was awesome. The Sun Bowl was one of my favorite. And the Cotton Bowl game, the one game I had in the Cotton Bowl was called the Harvey Martin Classic. It was, what school did Harvey Martin go to? It's now called East Texas A&M. Texas A&M Commerce.
Yeah.
Was playing Abilene Christian, and there was a downpour the whole game. And the crowd was so small that the whole entire crowd could sit up under the overhangs and stay dry. But we weren't staying dry. But it was in the Cotton Bowl, so that was awesome. I've seen so many Texas OU games. It was amazing to be down there in the Cotton Bowl.
Lambeau Field, though, had to be something special. I mean, that had to be.
We went the day before, and there's a Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame museum thing inside the stadium, so we went through that. There was a whole room, a whole little area talking about how Aaron Rodgers loves to clown with people, and what's it called when you get in the back of a picture and nobody knows you're there?
Oh, a photobomb?
Yeah, he loves to photobomb people. And so that the next game, day we had that game, and it was a preseason game against, I think, Kansas City. It was Cedric Benson was playing, so it was Kansas City, right? He came over to me in the third quarter because he hadn't played since the first half. And he goes, all the scab crews we had, or what they called us, we think you're the best. And I said, shut up. I know how you love to. I saw a whole room about you and how you like to mess with people. No, I'm serious. So I got along with Aaron. Aaron Rodgers was a lot of fun. And Green Bay was the only team I saw twice. So I got to see him twice. Aaron Rodgers was a lot of fun, and Mike McCarthy was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. It's neat to have that opportunity to kind of be out there with those guys.
Those are my favorite two guys. I saw 13 teams because I did 7 games. That's the only team I saw twice. And those are my favorite two people were Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy.
Oh, that's cool. Well, what if you could change one rule in football, what would it be?
Well, at the upper levels, I would say make the call and don't depend on the replay to bail you out. And they have to do that. They have to do that in the upper levels. They have to, if it's in doubt whether it's a fumble or an incomplete, let the play out. You know, act like it's a fumble, let the play out. We may come back and call it incomplete. Well, make a call. You know, that drives me crazy. That's why I don't like the NFL very much. There's just they're too picky. They call way too much stuff. I like to let the kids play football.
Okay.
That probably didn't answer anything about the question.
Well, now I was kind of curious. That is a rule, though. I mean, the replay and stuff, all that is part of their rules. So that does kind of answer it from that standpoint. So, yeah, that changed the game completely when they brought replay into everything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's so much money on it, though. I guess that's why, there's so much money involved at that level that they figure they better delay everything.
That's another story. When I was trying to get into the NFL back then, I had the head of security of the Houston Texans come and interview me. And it was so much of that interview was about gambling. How much do I gamble? I said, well, I work indoor football. And whenever we go to Lake Charles for indoor football, we always go to the casino. It's Lake Charles. And he's writing everything down. He goes, what do you? I said, I play $5 blackjack. If they don't have a $5 table, I don't play. I can't play $10 blackjack. And he's writing, when was the last time? I'm like, really? It's $5 blackjack. I mean, he's writing everything down. So then we do that Green Bay and Seattle Monday night game. And we had the Hail Mary. And I made the announcement the game is over because that made the score 13-12. So why do we need to keep the extra point? If it's not about gambling, why do we need to keep the extra point? The game is over and Seattle won. But no, kept being told we had to go get teams out of the locker room to bring them back out on the field to kick the extra point. Why? Unless it's for gambling.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I was thinking back then you could not run in the NFL. You could not score 2 points by blocking an extra point and running it in. You couldn't back then. If you blocked it, the play was over. So I'm like, well, what else could happen? So when we finally had to go back in the locker room, bring the teams out, I looked at the Seattle kickers. I'm trying to figure out what else can go wrong. I said, you actually going to kick this? And he looked down and said, oh, yeah. And then snapped the ball and everybody just stood up and he kicked it through. But I'm like, what? Why did we have to do that? Now they won by 2 instead of 1.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, last question. What's the most intense game you've ever officiated in?
The 2017 state championship game between Highland Park and Manville. It was an amazing, amazing game. Jerry Jones's grandson was the quarterback for Highland Park.
Yep.
They had some receiver. They went to the ACC somewhere to play lacrosse, who was a fantastic receiver. Manville had a quarterback that was a coach's kid named Martin. They had a receiver, I think, that was going to A&M, and they just kept trading scores. Manville was up by 10 or 11, 12 points in the fourth quarter, and Highland Park scored with about 2.5 minutes left to make it a one-score game. They kicked an onside kick and got it and went down and scored to go up by less than a touchdown, but more than a field goal. So I don't know what the score was. And then not even half a minute left now. Manville runs a kickoff to about midfield. They run a couple plays. On the last play of the game, they complete a ball, and the guy struggles, and he's tackled on the 1 yard line on the last play of the game. just an amazing. I thought it was the greatest.
Golly.
I thought it was the greatest game I'd ever seen in my life. Then the very next year, North Shore Duncanville game was won on the Hail Mary on the last play of the game.
Yeah, I watched that one. I can remember that one. Golly, Bob, that was that
But
is
there was
good games.
There was a show, I don't know what it was called, that I think it was on whatever, it used to be Valley Sports, whatever it was before that. They put on a show that had Coach Allen from Highland Park and Coach Martin from Manville. And this guy, and they showing the film of that game, and it was the first time, that show was the first time the Manville coach had ever watched it. It was about an hour long, and it was an awesome show. I watched that, like, man, this is how bad of a loss this was for Manville.
Golly.
To have a nearly 2 touchdown lead in the last 3 minutes of the state championship game and not win.
Whew.
And I thought from playing on a team that never made it to the state championship game and always lost heartbreakers in the quarterfinals, I always thought, I don't think winning feels as good as losing hurts. And then I was working at the Astrodome. Well, I think I was in the Astrodome to watch a crew work on the day that Westlake had played John Tyler, I think, in the game before. And I saw the kids walking off the field that lost. I think John Tyler won that game, but I don't remember. All I remember is seeing the team that lost walking off the field, and these guys are crushed. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And seeing the team that winning going off the field, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal to them. Losing hurts worse than winning wins. The winning feels good.
That's probably right. I think you're probably right there. Yeah. Yeah.
When we lost my senior year in the quarterfinals to Cuero in a heartbreaker, and my dad took me like the very next day to go watch Burt Reynolds in The Longest Yard, which was an hilarious movie, but not the day after your football career ended.
Yeah, wrong, bad timing.
Right.
All right. Well, man, Wayne, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with me. I enjoyed kind of getting to hear it from another perspective. That's always good, and it was good kind of catching up and kind of hearing your background and your thoughts on some of the stuff. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, yes, sir. I hope this doesn't hurt your ratings too much.
No, it won't at all. People like hearing different stuff, and so I think it'll be a good one. And good luck to you through the rest of the playoffs and in your college games and all that stuff that you got going on. And we wish you the best on that.
You bet. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, Wayne.
All right, you bet. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right. Thanks for joining us today for episode 53. Hope you enjoyed our time today with Austin football official Wayne Elliott, and I hope you learned a little more about the game from his perspective. We'll probably continue on with officials for another week or two possibly, but depending on how things work out, it may be a retired coach or something else also. But either way, I hope you can join us. It's week 1 of the playoffs, so go find a team to support if your local one's no longer playing. And as always, if you're looking for the game and you get lost here in Texas, just look for the lights.
I wear that red and white on a Friday night when my hometown takes the field. I say yes sir, yes ma'am, try to be the best man. That's how I feel. No matter where my heart runs, I remember where I came from. Still got that raised up pride, that small town pride, that black, red,